And now, ladies and gentlemen, Barbara EHRENREICH.
Thank you, Bertha, for the extravagant praise. And my assignment tonight was to say a little bit about my research for nickel and dimed, and I can do that fairly briefly. And then I want to sort of put it in this perspective of inequality, economic inequality, and the trend that we're here this week to address. I have written for many years about issues related to women and poverty. Then in 1998, I kind of walked into an assignment I didn't want, but it was the project, which was for Harper's Magazine originally, was to see if I could support myself on money I could earn if I just went out into the workplace and tried to get whatever jobs I could. Without my normal credentials, not that my normal credentials really mean anything in the work world, I've discovered. No, there are never any help wanted ads for political essayists, especially not for left-wing feminist political essayists. Anyway, so whatever job, I could get out there. I worked as a waitress, a hotel housekeeper, a maid with a house cleaning service, a nursing home aide, and a Walmart associate. There are no employees at Walmart. Everybody is an associate. Just to say a little bit about the process of getting these jobs, which was kind of interesting. First there's the drug test. In most of these cases, anybody here ever take a drug test? How'd you do? All right. Come back to that. I couldn't understand the drug test really. What difference does it make, frankly, if your job is going to be to stack Triscuit boxes in a supermarket? But anyway, I finally figured out it's just a little ritual of humiliation to get you in the mood for the job you're about to undertake. Then there's the personality test, and this was new to me. I did not know about personality tests. I didn't know what this was. Almost every one of these low-wage jobs I took had a fairly lengthy personality test. Most of the questions are pretty easy, at least I could figure them out. Like, here's one, quote, "In the last year I have stolen, parentheses, check dollar amount below, worth of goods from my employers," close quote. Or this one, which pops up on many companies' tests, and this is agree or disagree, quote, "It is easier to work when you're a little bit high." That's so tricky, they almost got me on that one. But so I would give what I thought was the right answer, but not always be so right that it would look like I was kind of faking out the test. And this actually got me in trouble at Walmart. The question was, agree or disagree, quote, "All rules must be followed to the letter at all times." And I didn't, want to look like a suck-up or anything, so I only agreed strongly, not totally. And the personnel director, manager, whoever she was, went and graded my personality in a computer in the other room. She came back, she said, "You got this wrong. The correct answer is totally agree." Which is just interesting because that shows kind of what is expected of you in so many workplaces today. Not independent thinking, of course. Now, this was how I started my life as a journalist trying to live as I would have been happy to accept high wages too, but as a low-wage worker. All the jobs that I had were very hard. Physically, I expected them to be hard, and they were. But what was more of a surprise to me, and I think I should share this because we're in a university right now, they were also mentally hard. They were mentally challenging for me. Maybe I had a prejudice in my mind before that these would be easy, they'd be boring jobs, that I would be bored out of my mind all the time. That was my, bias, which was completely wrong. For example, just give you one. I could talk about every one of these jobs and how much I had to learn, but I'll give you an example of Walmart. I was in ladies' wear. I thought at first, wow, that'll be fun. I'll be giving fashion advice, to the women of Minnesota, where I was working then. But it was not. It's not like that at Walmart, as you probably know. My job was to pick up all the items that people have tossed on the floor or have tried on in the changing rooms or have, for mysterious reasons, hidden in my department. And what is that about people when you shop? What is that about taking something from menswear or lawn and garden and taking it and hiding it, in a lady's underwear? Because it drove me nuts. I hated shop. I hated the customers there. But the point was I had to memorize where hundreds of different items went exactly. And then these would be rotated every few days, apparently for no other reason than to convince me I have Alzheimer's. So there's an important lesson here, that I will never use the word unskilled again to describe any job. Every job takes skill and intelligence and a lot of concentration. Now, I should add that these jobs were much harder than they needed to be due to the atmosphere of distrust and intimidation that prevails in so many workplaces. I'll just give you a couple of examples. There were rules in some places I worked, like no talking to your fellow employees. What is that about? That's about preventing you from getting together and organizing, I think. I did not see the worst of it by any means. There are ways, I would say, in which low-wage workplaces in America are increasingly resemble third world sweatshops. And I'm not exaggerating on that. There are the problem, for example, of bathroom breaks. Now, bathroom breaks may not seem like a big issue if you're a white-collar professional. But it is a serious issue for pink-collar and blue-collar workers. In fact, there's an academic in Iowa who has written the definitive study of bathroom breaks called Void Where Prohibited. And gives you the idea. And, as I discovered in my jobs, bathroom breaks can be so rare that you start feeling nostalgic for that drug test. At least you got to pee. But this is a major problem. As this book reports, Void Where Prohibited, there are many situations in America now where women workers now have taken to wearing adult diapers to work because they know they're not going to get a chance to use a bathroom. Walmart is a major offender. As you have probably read, the New York Times has had quite a bit of coverage over the last couple of years. There have been allegations, they're being sued in over 30 states for not paying overtime. And I don't mean not paying time and a half, I mean paying zero. And the way that works, and I was warned about it by my coworkers where I worked, was that the manager comes and says, go punch out and come back to the floor, I've got a lot for you to do. You're making a free donation of your time. Well, anyway, I survived the work, and I'm quite proud of myself that I never got fired and didn't completely screw up. I was not, however, successful at doing what I was trying to do, which is see if I could make ends meet and of course I was keeping my living expenses absolutely to nothing but food, rent, and transportation. But I was averaging $7 an hour in these different jobs. It might be somewhat higher now because I finished doing this in 2000, but not much because we had an economic downturn in the meantime. And what undid me completely was rent, was housing. Might have been another issue if I had needed health care or something like that, but it was rent. And obviously I didn't try this in a place like New York City or San Francisco, where I would have been doomed from the outset. But just to give you an example, Minnesota, in many Twin Cities area, I could not, all I wanted was a room with a microwave and fridge, nothing under $800 a month. I was trying everything, the trailer parks, whatever. Finally ended up, as many low-wage people do, living in a residential motel, which is just, people will go into these, although they're costly, because they don't demand the first month's rent and security deposit.